you cannot show up in social media in 2025 as a diluted version of yourself and have success. If you want to have success, the landscape is very much vulnerability, authenticity, and just being your most real self. And you're not going to be for everyone, but the 20% of people that you are going to be for are going to love the fuck out of you for being that version of yourself.
Welcome to the She Who Dares podcast. I'm your host, Krystal Wilson, the founder of She Who Dares. I'm a specialized breakthrough and mindset coach, business mentor, online course creator, and your number one no BS hype woman. I'm here to remind you who the fuck you are and reignite your personal power through powerful and expanding conversations on all things business, mindset, and energetics, to help you break through to your next level of success in all areas of your life, business, and bank account. Each episode is designed to expand your mind, shift your identity, raise your frequency, as well as give you success strategies to help you step into your highest, most powerful, abundant, successful, and magnetic you. So, I dare you to join me each episode, and I double dare you to implement what you learn and go all in on you. All in on your life, your business, your success. Because if you do, like so many of my She Who Dares clients and students, you will become everything that you know deep down you can be. Ready? Let's friggin' do this.
Welcome back to the She Who Dares podcast. I'm your host, Krystal Wilson. Hope you guys are having an amazing week. This episode today is inspired by a little bit of a content process that I've been going through recently. If you follow me on the official She Who Dares account, which is at She Who Dares Official, you may have seen a post that I did called Chapter 1, and it's going through the journey of my last decade in business. Chapter 1 focusing on my first business, which was in network marketing, and the journey of that experience of being in network marketing and having all of that success and earning all of that money and winning all of those trips and speaking on stages and winning all the awards and accolades. That incredible journey that I spent between 2014 and 2018 before I took a step back and reevaluated really what I wanted and what I wanted my message to be, who I wanted to be, what I wanted to build. And so ultimately I stepped away from that business in 2018, feeling very lost, feeling very confused, feeling very much like my whole identity was wrapped up in network marketing and being a network marketing leader. And it didn't make a lot of sense to step away from that business, step away from that income, step away from that success and everything that I had built when I put so much into it, so much blood, sweat, tears into it. But ultimately, it just didn't align. And for me, once something no longer aligns, it's impossible for me to do it energetically, emotionally, physically. Like I just cannot. And that's happened quite a few times in my life, but it definitely happened in 2018 with my network marketing business. And I stepped away from that business, took a year sabbatical, and just kind of lived off of my residual income and was really in the depths of what the F am I doing? What is my next path? And so I created a piece of content that's called Chapter 1. We'll link it in the show notes for you if you missed it. Just kind of going through the highlights of my 4 years in network marketing. And then this week I've been creating Chapter 2. And Chapter 2 is when I figured out in that year sabbatical what the hell I wanted to do, which I always knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to start my own coaching business. But I had to go through a bit of a death of the ego because that was the predictable thing. Lots of people were starting coaching business. A lot of people from network marketing going to coaching. And so my ego had to go through a little bit of a death in order for me to feel like I could put myself out there in that way. And so I've been creating Chapter 2, which is the She Who Dares era, that moment when I decided to go all in on my coaching business, all in on myself, and build my own thing the way that I wanted to build it, making the impact that I wanted to make. And it's been such an interesting process, kind of going through my phone for the last 10 years, like pulling out images, because the piece of content that I've been creating is like a scrapbook. By the way, please, just side note, if you listen to this podcast, if you enjoy being in the She Who Does world, if you're a client, if you're a student, if you're a watcher on the side, it has taken me hours to create these pieces of content. Like I'm talking like 5+ hours per piece of content. So we're going to link it in the show notes, and it would mean so much to me if you go and read the piece of content, engaged with it, love on it. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, like a big goal of mine this year was to become really good at creating content. So I'm new at creating content in this climate at this level. And so things take a lot of time, and there's a lot of intention that goes behind it. There's a lot of work that goes behind it. And this is why if you're somebody who's maybe you're not creating content, but you are somebody who consumes content, maybe you consume my content, I want you to know that every time you see a piece of content, so much love and effort and time and thought and intention has gone in to create that piece of content. And so I know we're so in this phase of just consuming and swiping and scrolling, consuming and swiping and scrolling. But if you are consuming my content, like I want you to know that every like, every comment, every engagement, every time you listen to an episode and you message me and let me know how much you loved it, like it means so much to me, because I'm a one-woman show. Like it's me and my VA, and everything you read, everything you consume, everything you do in the She Who Dares world is handcrafted by me, handwritten by me. Everything is created by me, and a lot of work and intention goes into it. So this is just a little like side note. It's so easy to be a consumer and not actually engage with the content that you're consuming. And I know I make a real conscious effort to be somebody who engages with content, because I know what goes into it. And so some of you listening, you may know what goes into content, and some of you listening, you may not be somebody who's creating content, so you don't really know. And so I want you to know that every like, every comment is so appreciated, because hours goes into creating the content that you just get to scroll and swipe and consume in your hour after dinner every night. So we're going to put the links to these pieces of content that I'm talking about so you can see them. And so I created chapter 1 last week, which was all about my beginning in business, in network marketing, and all the things I did in the 4 years that I was like heavily into network marketing. And, I built success in the top 1% of my industry. It was an incredible 4 years, but ultimately it was no longer a line that I walked away. And I walked away from the accolades, the success, the stages, all of it to build my own thing, which was really scary and courageous and bold to do that. And at the time, it did not make a lot of sense to a lot of people. To be honest with you, it didn't make sense on paper to me to do that either, to like step away from the thing that was paying me and giving me all this success. But as I said, when something no longer aligns for me energetically, I cannot do the thing. It's as simple as that. So I knew my time in network marketing was done. And that's when I took a year sabbatical and I started to focus on what the fuck do I want to do next. And that chapter 2, which I've been creating this week, is all about that next chapter. And that next chapter was She Who Dares. And I share in the piece of content how in 2015, I was actually sitting in a personal development leadership event, and the speaker on the stage shared the quote, "She who dares wins." And that was the first time that I'd ever seen or heard that quote. And I'll never forget sitting in the audience at that event and just feeling like so connected to that quote. That quote and me were like twins. That quote was me. That's who I was at my core, my identity, my being, my cells, every cell in my body. And so when I was sitting in that event, I was like, oh my God, I love that quote. Like I just never felt more connected to something in my life. And I knew in that instant that was going to be the name of my business. Now, I didn't know what my business was going to be. This was like 1 year into my network marketing business, and I was fully devoted to that. I had no idea that I was going to start my own thing or build my own thing, but I walked out of that event and I registered She Who Dares as a business name. And I have been paying for that business name and protecting that IP and paying for all of the domains to protect the brand She Who Dares long before I even knew what the hell She Who Dares was going to be, which is a really cool origin story. And so in the piece of content, I kind of share that. And I also just share, I've been building She Who Dares from probably around late 2018 to now. And it has been such an incredible journey. Like, I'm so grateful that I have this business and I get to do the work that I do and make the impacts that I make every day. Like, what a job. Like, I feel so grateful that I've created the perfect thing for me that makes such a big impact in the lives of others. But as I was creating this piece of content and going through that journey of since 2018, like going through all the things I've created, all the things I've done, it was so evident to me where I had fucked up. It was so evident to me where I had made big mistakes. And so as I was creating this piece of content, I was like, wow, like when you're in it, it's really hard to see that you're fucking up and that you're making a mistake. Unfortunately, very rarely do we get that awareness in the moment. I've always followed what I thought was right. I've always followed what I thought was the right breadcrumbs, but it's only in hindsight and reflecting that you're able to then be like, maybe that wasn't the right decision. Maybe that wasn't the right angle. Maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. And it was just really interesting for me as I've been reflecting a lot on these last 10 years in business, especially this chapter 2 piece of content where I'm just looking at the She Who Dares part of my business journey. It was like, wow. When I was going through all the different logos and branding, and you'll see it in that piece of content, it is so evident to me. And it would be interesting, actually, like, do you guys even see what I'm seeing? Is it that obvious to those of you who look? But it's so interesting seeing the evolution of She Who Dares, like what I created and launched and the branding, the messaging in 2018 to where I am now in 2025. And what's super interesting is like I can see so clearly the fuck ups, the mistakes, the failures. Even though overall I've had lots of success, I can see why maybe I haven't reached the level of success that I thought I would 7 years into She Who Dares, or why some years were harder and tougher than others in business. As I've mentioned before, like, I've been in business a long time. I've navigated so many different seasons. I've navigated seasons and months and years where I'm fucking winning. I'm in flow and everything's happening so easily and money's just flowing in. I've also navigated seasons and years where it feels like there is no flow. It's only resistant. Everything feels hard. Every sign up feels like I'm fucking breaking my back to get. I've just navigated so many seasons. And so as I was creating this piece of content, reflecting over the whole 10 years, it was just like so smack bang in the face of, wow, what a journey, what an evolution. And what was really evident to me, the thing that just stood out the most was how much has changed in how I show up, how I speak from an online perspective. If you're somebody who's worked with me and, I have such incredible client retention, like so many women who start with me, have worked with me on and off for so many years. So I feel like when you're in a private space with me, like one of my courses, one of my masterclasses, doing one-to-one work with me, you're getting the most realist, authentic version of me. But what was so evident is over these past 7 to 10 years in business is my biggest struggle has been actually taking who I am in my most authentic way and actually showing up as that version of myself online. And as I was creating this piece of content, that was so evident to me that I have really struggled to be myself in the online space. And I could see that so clearly looking at it. Like even the colors that I used to choose for branding, it's so different to how I'm showing up now. I would say in 2022, I had an absolute fucking death. And then there's like me before 2022 and there's me after 2022. And 2022 was like a real death for me, a death to me in business, a death to me in my identity. so many parts of my life, like my childhood, my relationships, my relationship with my parents. I had so much come to the surface in 2022. And it was like an absolute death of who Krystal Wilson was. And then I feel like after that death, I've been in this rebirthing. And part of my rebirthing has very much been like being my most genuine, authentic self, like taking off all of the masks, peeling back all of the layers. And yeah, it's just so interesting. You guys may look at the piece of content and not even see what I'm saying, or maybe you will. And if you do, I'd love for you to like drop into my inbox and I'd love to hear what you see it as well. And so I feel like if you've been following me a long time and maybe you've done my courses before 2022 and now after 2022, you might feel that there is a difference in like how I show up and how I speak and how things look and the things that I'm creating. And it's not that I'm being inauthentic. It's actually that I'm just on this journey of becoming me, becoming the most authentic version of me. And if you're a millennial, I think you'll understand this. We didn't grow up being told to be our loudest, brightest, most selves. Like we were brought up in an environment and an ecosystem and in a society that constantly told us we were too loud, too talkative, too much, too bold, too aggressive, too much of everything. So I have that as being a millennial, but then also starting my first business in network marketing, that very much amplified that message. In network marketing, it's very much be everyone's friend, be vanilla, be the palatable flavor that everyone can consume. And so, not that somebody was telling me not to be me, but it's just in the kind of like the ethos of network marketing. It's like you kind of everyone copies each other, everyone is this diluted version of themselves. Or it's not that they're a diluted version of themselves, it's like there's parts of yourself that you know are not palatable in the network marketing field. So you hide those parts of yourself. And you're not even doing this consciously. Like you're just doing it, thinking it that you're being authentic, but you're actually not. And so I think growing up in the kind of the way that I did as a millennial, then having my first business in network marketing with that same messaging was like, be palatable, don't share anything controversial, don't swear. And so, like, all of those things are kind of like in direct conflict with actually who I am. And I feel like without even realizing it, I was just showing up as a persona of what I thought I had to be in order to be successful. And where those lines get blurred is that I was fucking successful. And I always say in business, everything works until it doesn't. And so I feel like being this persona of myself and showing up in a palatable way, in a version of myself that I thought was the correct way to be successful, because I couldn't possibly be just me and be successful. I had to be a version of myself that wasn't my true self in order to be successful. And again, when this is all happening, I'm not thinking this intellectually. I'm just doing and thinking I'm being my most authentic self. But it's only in hindsight now, when I look back, I can see the number one thing that has stalled my real next level of success is not being my authentic self, is hiding parts of myself, trying to be palatable. And some of you listening who have been in business, I think will understand, do you know what I mean? The journey and get it. I think, especially if you're a millennial, I think if you're somebody who follows me and listens to the podcast and you're younger in that kind of Gen Z, you guys are just so you. And I feel like that's way more encouraged and just way more accepted from a peer to peer situation, like to be your most authentic self. So this may not land, but I suppose my intention is that I hope that those of you who are listening, who this is resonating with, I always teach and share from a place of I want it to be easier for you. I truly believe that I've been in business as long as I have, navigated so many different seasons, had so many failures and fuck ups and missed opportunities. And I truly believe that I've been through those things, that I can pass this message on, that I can record this podcast. And like whatever you're going to take away from it that's going to shift you is going to be perfect for you. So let's just go with that. That's my intention. So the thing that is just really evident to me, and the thing that has held me back, is that I am unlearning everything I've been taught and kind of working to be my most authentic self online. And I think if you follow me, that you may be like, oh, I've always thought that you were so authentic. And I am, but I just feel like I've dialed down certain parts. I haven't been the most authentic version of myself, even though I'm so open and I share so much. And you guys always get the BTS. I never really hide anything that's going on. I find it very easy to be vulnerable and talk about things that are going on in my life. But it's just become so evident to me. This has been my journey, is like really just showing up as me and knowing that it is safe for me to just show up as me and make the jokes that I want to make and speak in the way that I want to speak and the tone that I want to speak and all the different flavors of Krystal Wilson. And actually, that it's safe for me to do that. And I can have the most amount of success doing that. And so that was my biggest takeaway from creating this piece of content, was looking at the evolution of just She Who Dares and all the different variations of me, and there being such a stark difference to me. I'm like, wow, Krystal, I don't even know that version. And I feel a little bit sad and also a little bit inspired, like all the different feelings when I look at this piece of content, because I can see so clearly that I was really just trying to figure it out. Do you know what I mean? And so the version of me now, everything feels so much easier. There's so much less internal dialogue and like mental gymnastics, because I am just showing up as me and I am getting better and better at just showing up as me. And I think my millennials will get this. One of the hardest things in my experience in business is actually just feeling safe to show up as me. And with the climate changes in social media and creating video content, all the things that I've been talking about and I've been working on and been dedicated to this last 6 months, you cannot show up in social media in 2025 as a diluted version of yourself and have success. If you want to have success, the landscape is very much vulnerability, authenticity, and just being your most real self. And you're not going to be for everyone, but the 20% of people that you are going to be for are going to love the fuck out of you for being that version of yourself. And so that was my number one takeaway, was like, whoa, Krystal, you've been on such an evolution. And now in 2025, you are the most you've ever been online. And it feels so good. But it might be interesting for those of you who followed me for a long time, like seeing these evolutions of She Who Dares, of me. And I wonder if you guys realize the version of me in 2021 and before 2022, if you see me now, this is actually the most me I've ever been online, which is just crazy how long it has taken to feel safe, to just be like, oh yeah, that's right, I can just be myself. And as I said, it's not something in the moment. No one's showing up online analytically choosing and logically choosing not to be themselves. I think everyone is showing up doing the best they can with the tools and resources they have. This is like the gift of hindsight, where you can be like, I see now. I see why that didn't work as well as I'd hoped. The other thing that I can see when I look at this last kind of 7-10 years is changing and pivoting too much. And I think because when you're not showing up as your most authentic self, just the realest version of you, then it's easier to chase the wrong things. It's easier to follow the wrong path. And I feel like those two things are really tightly linked for me when I look at my journey, especially creating this piece of content. I've created so many courses, so many masterclasses, so many different teachings. At the time, I loved all of it, but I can see how that's actually also been a pothole in my business, because anything that I built was solid and had legs, I would then pivot and change and move to something else. So I was always shifting and changing. And I think that's because I was trying to find my thing. I was trying to find my messaging. I was trying to find the Krystal Wilson of it all, while unconsciously not being Krystal Wilson. So that was really interesting. So watering myself down, creating this kind of persona of myself, like even how I dress. I think it also, when I think about, like, I gained so much weight. And so I didn't get to dress who I was anymore. I had to dress based on what fitted me. And a lot of that was dresses. And it's like now my most authentic self at this normal weight, I just never wear dresses. You might see me in a dress 5% of the time, but when I was bigger, I was always in flowy dresses because that's what fit me. But that's not actually part of my personality. And also when you're bigger, a lot of the clothes are limited, and there's a lot of pattern, there's a lot of florals, a lot of bright colors. That's actually not my personality, but therefore that's what I had to wear because that's all that really fitted me. For those of you who don't know, just a side note, in 2022, I had weight loss surgery. I gained a shit ton of weight. I'm 175 centimeters. I'm quite tall, but I was 121 kilos the day that I had my weight loss surgery. And that's a whole nother story. And that was life fucking changing for me. And I'm so grateful that I did it. My only regret is that I didn't do it sooner. And so when I say that there was like this death and rebirth, there was so much going on in 22. Because I also, when I started recording this story, I'm like, I totally forgot that I also had weight loss surgery in 2022. Anyway, so yeah, the version that you're seeing now is actually who I am, like the most authentic version of me. And all these other versions of me have just been the Krystal Wilson trying to find the Krystal Wilson of it all. And I feel very, oh my God, I feel emotional. I feel very grateful to be here and feel so like comfortable in my own skin, so comfortable with my own voice, and so aligned with what I'm doing, who I'm serving, my messaging, the content that I'm creating, where She Who Dares is going. I feel so grateful. And even though it's been an up and down journey trying to find the Krystal Wilson of it all, I feel very grateful. I've learned so much. Like I don't look back and have any shame or have any regret or have any negative feelings about it all. I can feel a little bit of sadness, just for the version of myself who didn't feel safe to be herself and was struggling with all those different things internally. But I'm so grateful because I feel that I can help other women so much deeper, having navigated all the different things that I've navigated personally and in business. So all the hard things that have happened, like I never regret those things. I know they give me my edge. I truly believe that everything that's happened to me has happened to me for a reason, for a greater purpose, so that I can record this fucking podcast, so that we can have this level of conversation. And so I'm incredibly grateful for that. So I suppose my message to those of you who are listening is, if you can learn from my mistakes and you potentially are hearing something in today's episode that's making you think that maybe you are showing up as a diluted version of yourself, maybe you are hiding, maybe you are showing up as a persona of yourself, and there is a part of you that like feels unsafe to just be your most authentic self, don't waste as much time as I have. Really use this episode as an opportunity to fly your fucking freak flag and show the world who you really are, because you're not meant to be for everyone. You're not meant to be palatable, and it's such a detriment to your success. It's just prolonging it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just adding time where time doesn't need to be added. And that's something that I can see in my journey. It's like I've added time where time did not need to be added. I've stalled and I've unconsciously self-sabotaged, not knowing I was self-sabotaging, truly in the moment thinking that I was doing the right and best thing for my business. It's only now in hindsight that I can look back and be like, wow, like I got so distracted by so much shit that didn't matter. I spent so much time not being just myself. Imagine if I had just been the most authentic version of myself, but that's not the journey. I had to go through all of that to be here right now. So I just want you to take away from this what you need, leave what you don't. But there are so many valuable lessons here, whether you're in a career, whether you have a business, like you can apply this to really any aspect of your life. But in 2025, what the world wants from you is to be your most authentic self, unapologetically. And that is something that the journey that I have been on, that death and that rebirth. And so that's what I want to leave you with, is how can you cut through all of that bullshit? Because I've done a lot of the bullshit and just start to show up as you. And I'll be honest with you, if you're a millennial and you've been in business a little while and you know that you are diluting yourself, this is not an easy journey to peel those layers back, to take off all of those masks and to show, be you. It's a journey. And so you can start that journey and it's a process. And I just want to invite you to look at where you're maybe hiding, playing small, diluting yourself, and start to bring awareness to that and start to begin the journey of rebirthing into your most authentic self, whatever that is for you. Because I know for me, it feels so good. And so everything is feeling so much easier. And I just wish that I had given myself this gift earlier, but I'm also really grateful to have it now because I've learned so much. Thank you so much for listening. We're going to post the pieces of content that inspired this whole episode in the link for you. And remember, if you're scrolling on the internet and you can see someone's really giving it a go in the trenches, creating content, don't just be somebody who consumes and doesn't engage with the content. A like, a love heart, a comment, what it made you feel will mean so much. The person who's just spent, like me, 5 fucking hours creating a piece of content. Love you guys. Have the best day.
Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. If you loved this episode, be sure to share that with me by leaving me a review, and head over to the She Who Dares official Instagram account at She Who Dares Official, hit follow, slide into my DMs, and share with me the impact this episode has had on you. And before you go, I'm going to leave you with this. The universe is responding to you. It is following your lead. You are the one who has to move first. And when you do, the whole universe will move with you, because it's I lead, the universe follows. When I move, the universe moves with me. That is our official She Who Dares mantra. I want you to write it down, put it on a mirror, and I want you to remind yourself of it every day. When I lead, the universe follows. When I move, the universe moves with me. When you follow this She Who Dares mantra, you are going to unlock the magic of the universe, and you are stepping into your most powerful self. I can't wait to see you for the next episode. Thanks for being here.